If you're new here, I married a woman, had a kid with a woman, divorced that same woman. During the divorce, they transitioned to a man, lost custody, and now they owe child support and live with my fiance's ex. Okay. There's a playlist at the top of my profile, Who the F Did I Marry, if you want to start from the beginning. If not, here we go. So yesterday I left off with Melvin and Caroline live together. So Melvin and Caroline are the exes of me and my fiance, Ashley. Melvin and Caroline got together during both of our divorces, and basically to feedback information to one another. And yeah, now they're together, I guess. Cool. So they're living together. We knew they were living together, although Melvin tried to conceal their address for months and months and months and months. Pretty much any identifying information Melvin tried to conceal. Obviously against a court order, so had to deal with that as well. Anyways, so at this point, the weekend schedule, we're fighting back and forth about the weekend schedule. Because I'm the primary parent, so I have my son throughout the weeks and all that good stuff. But the few weeks, during the month, they get a few weekends or whatever. So there's like the standard one, which I think is like 1, 3, 5, and then the schedule that my kid was on for weekends originally was every other, to match with my fiance's weekend schedule, because Caroline is the primary parent of their kid. So it's literally a fucking swap. So we were like, just keep the kids on the same schedule. Like, fuck all this bullshit. Keep them on the same schedule. I literally tried so hard that I told Melvin, from October to February, I will literally waive all your child support for those months that you owe me if you just keep the kids on the same weekend schedule. Nope, they said no. Cool. So we end up in court in February, and we get in front of the judge, and the judge is basically like, hey man, throw this man a bone. He already lost, primary custody. We might as well just let him have the fucking schedule. Let him have the fucking weekends. Okay, but I'm hot. I'm pissed. And I didn't know this, but when you're in court and you have a lawyer, you cannot speak to the judge unless the judge speaks directly to you. So I'm like, wait. Hey, you about to split 2 kids? Like, I'm super upset. And everyone's like, shh, no, don't say anything. And I'm looking at my lawyer like, girl, stand up, do something, because this is wild to me. So I'm pissed, I'm hot, legs shaking, and at this point, my lawyer is up at the podium with Melvin, and they're signing the decree, because now the judge is like, you gonna sign this in front of my face, because there's no reason that it should have not been signed for almost 5 months. Anyways, so I'm pissed. So Melvin comes down to walk through the pews. Ashley's with me, she's in the back in the pews. And so as Melvin is passing me, I'm like, I'm gonna get you. Because at this point, I'm like, okay, you want to play these little nasty games? We about to get real specific. This little idiot turns around to the judge and goes, did you hear her say that she's going to get me? And the judge is like, rolls his eyes, because the judge rolls his eyes, and he's like, man, I'll put both of y'all in contempt. And at this point, I don't even hear the judge. I'm like, whatever. So I get up, and I'm walking too. Ashley's getting up, but once I got in the hallway, Ashley heard the judge say like, oh, y'all need to go get the security out there probably. So I'm in the hallway, I'm yelling, because I'm like, you owe me child support. You need to make sure you understand stuff, because like I said, Melvin likes to play stupid on purpose. Like Melvin will be like, oh, I didn't know that I had to do that. Oh no, woe is me. And it's just like, no, you're pretending not to know how to read so you can play stupid. So anyways, I'm in the hallway, I'm yelling. And the security guard comes up to me, and she's like, are you good? Do you need anything? And I'm like, at this point, I'm like, no, lady, I just need to get out of here. So I'm with Ashley. Ashley's like, Brittany, calm down. Brittany, calm down. We get on the elevator. We go downstairs in the courthouse, because my lawyer had to file some paperwork. So I get the paperwork, or no, she's filing the paperwork. I'm in the hallway, because I'm trying to calm down. And so Ashley's trying to calm me down. Melvin walks by, and I'm like, you a bitch. I said that shit loud in the courthouse. Here goes this little fucking baby. There's like a little admin desk or whatever. Did you hear her call me a bitch? Do you guys have cameras here? Or will you sign a statement saying that she called me a bitch? And like, it's not illegal to call anybody a bitch. And I'm just like, please grow up. Be a man. Like, chill. So at this point, I'm mad. I don't even know. So Ashley, she's such a stand-up woman. So she's like, so Melvin leaves. So Ashley's like, I'm going to go. So she didn't tell me she was going to go do this, but she went and talked to Melvin. So she sees Melvin, and she's like, hey man, like, you have to understand Brittany's frustration. you know, like you have not given her any child support, like you don't communicate with her, you don't let her when her son is with you, you don't even let her talk to him. Like you're just being really nasty. And Melvin was like, I have the child support. The reason I didn't give it is because they told me if I gave her the child support that it would be considered a gift before today because of the, you know, because we needed to sign this paper, which is not true, by the way. Actually, Ashley was like, literally, I'm on child support because Ashley chose that. I'm on child support, and that's not what they say. That's absolutely false, actually. And what's crazy is Melvin lives with Caroline. Melvin lives with Caroline, and Ashley pays Caroline child support. And guess what? If Ashley missed a payment of child support with Caroline, there'd probably be a warrant out for Ashley's arrest. So they know how important it is to pay child support. That household knows how important it is to pay child support. Now, here's me. Melvin owes me child support and is supposed to pay it, and I have $0.00. Okay? So Ashley knows what she's talking about. Cool. So Ashley's like, listen, man, you just need to whatever. So I don't know how, I wasn't there for the conversation, but Ashley said that also Melvin had said something like, because Ashley was like, I guess you're with my ex. That means you're around my daughter. And, you know, with that being said, like, is that, or basically, like, is that what it is? Because I'm not getting a clear answer. And if this is something that's happening, I need to understand. Do you know this fool Melvin said something along the lines of, oh, well, if your daughter needs a father figure, then I'm going to step up and be that. Like a bunch of shit. And Ashley, like I said, very calm, upstanding woman was like, all right, bro. Like, okay. You know what? Like, you just need to do what you need to do and give Brittany this child support. And you know what I mean? Like, you're a fucked up person. Basically, that was the gist of it. So after that day, or during that day, I was mad. Oof, I was so mad. Like, and I'm a Gemini, so you go low, I'll take you to hell. Like, and I mean that. Anyways, so after that happens, basically funny, actually, as that is all taking place, mind you, Caroline and Melvin at this point Caroline and Melvin at this point are dating, right? They're dating. They live in the same house. One of them gets child support and one of them is not paying child support, right? So their household is getting child support in, but their household is paying no child support out. So my fiance is paying child support to Caroline and Melvin lives with Caroline. Now, what do y'all think that means? That means that there's a good chance that Ashley's money is being used to fund homeless, jobless Melvin. Okay, gonna answer to this comment. I'm gonna try and make it as quick and seamless as possible. Okay, so when me and my fiance Ashley started dating, we dated during both of our divorces. My divorce took 2 years, her divorce took 1 year. When Caroline found out, she was upset, rightfully so, right? Like you're getting out of a relationship with somebody and now that person is moving on. Okay, but it wasn't your traditional like, you know, upset. It was like it turned into like this massive hurricane. Caroline started making it her freaking 9 to 5 to send Ashley dissertations about me, and at this point, I'm just like a stranger to everybody, right? And so and I say there because that's Caroline and Kathy. Kathy is Caroline's sister. They're like doing a deep dive on me. I don't want to say stalking, but it's kind of like it gets there. So first it's like, oh, did you know she said this in the 1980s on Twitter? And oh, did you know she's not even done with her divorce yet? And this is her ex. And this is, you know, like all of this stuff, just like constant. And I'm talking long messages just about me. And Ashley's like, this isn't about her. We're trying to co-parent, you know, blah, blah, blah. Ends up, their divorce was so messy outside of me, just messy in general, that because everything the way that it happened, Ashley decided that the best thing for her to do was to take standard possession and pay child support because their co-parenting relationship was not cohesive enough to be healthy for a child, right? So Ashley was like, listen, I think that it'll be better if, I'm going to take standard possession and pay child support, and then I can always go back to 50-50 when this all tempers down, right? Hoping it would. Okay, it doesn't temper down. They end up getting closer to their actual mediation for divorce. And honestly, throughout this time, it is still very heavily everything is about me. It really is. And I'm not even that interesting. And so I will say this loosely, but at this point I figured out I was sort of being stalked. How do I know that? Okay, so when you're going to court with somebody for a divorce, you have to exchange any evidence you're going to use on the other person, or any documentation, anything. Anyways, there's this folder that Caroline crafted that obviously Ashley and her lawyer gets, and one of the folders in it was me. And I'm talking, this isn't like your traditional, like, oh, here's Brittany and Ashley or whatever. I'm talking like screenshot of my shoes, toes. I'm talking like anything I've ever said on Twitter, like every post. I'm talking like, it was like Ashley had took a picture of a business card on a granite top, and the response that Caroline put was, this is when I figured out Brittany's address. And they had looked up the granite to find the house. And so I'm talking it was a little worrisome. I was like, okay. Anyways, they get their divorce, whatever. But we noticed this one thing happened, and we thought about it after we figured it out. But one time Melvin knew that me and Ashley shared a lawyer. Melvin shouldn't have known that, because why would you know who's Ashley's lawyer is? This is before, right? So I'm just using that as a situation. Anyways, when Taurus ends up coming to me to tell me about Melvin, the first thing she said was, you guys need to be careful, because Caroline and her sister Kathy have been talking to Melvin the whole entire time you and Ashley have been together. So news to us. But now it's clicking why everything took so long, why there was so much information. But not only did she tell me that, she showed it to me. There's a group message, and they're just talking about it. And I'm not talking like talking shit, whatever, okay. No, I'm talking like the sister went to Melvin and was like, oh, my sister is struggling with her divorce, and she just wants to know more about Brittany. And because, Brittany could be around her child, and, so on and so forth. Okay. So it turned into like, oh, look at what they're eating tonight, or here's a screenshot of this, and oh, well, Brittany's gonna be here, so you shouldn't watch her child, because then it was like them crafting plans. It was just like really scary. It was like, oh, well, what schedule do you have for Ashley, and what schedule do you have for Brittany? Like really pinpointing where we are. And that was alarming, right? To me, I was like, okay, well, like, because now at this point, we didn't know. For a whole entire year, these people have been doing this. So Taurus also went to tell me like, hey, like Melvin would talk about you to me for 4 to 5 hours. And I'd have to tell him like, hey, I don't want to talk about Brittany anymore. And so she also told me that Melvin would be on the phone with Caroline and Kathy, or one of them, for hours at a time talking about me. And so it just sort of like it was like super, it was a lot. It was a lot. And at that point, everything started feeling unsafe. So time goes on a little bit. Now, mind you, they were talking not only like Caroline and Kathy and Melvin are all talking together while Melvin is in a relationship. So you would assume that they were friends, but as soon as Taurus left, Melvin was already, or maybe they jumped straight into a relationship or whatever, or maybe they were in the relationship, maybe they were already talking. I don't really know. But the other thing that ended up happening is just like little stuff. This is when it starts to get, where this is like a thing. So obviously they're living together now, and it's super weird because it's just weird. You think about it, it's just weird. Like now my child's over there. Like I haven't always felt safe about their arrangement. And so it's difficult, but it's definitely still really hard, because even when we first bought our house, it was like, Caroline and Kathy were like, oh, we know your address. And Ashley's like, how or why do you know my address? Oh, well, you posted a picture, which Okay, we'll post a picture. We don't put numbers. We're very specific about not including details. And they're like, no, well, that rug is by this person. And we figured out because this is the only house for sale in the area. And your house is, looks the way it looks. So it's different. And we figured out which one in the neighborhood sold. And, oh, we know what car Brittany drives. And, oh, this is how much this costs. And, oh, like Caroline's trying to randomly sue Ashley anytime she can for anything. Like, don't even get me started on that. And it's like they're asking for all these excessive documentations just to try and like be in our business. And it's just like gets to a point where like, hey, everybody, like it's just a lot. So Caroline's piece in this is different, but it seems as though that was how that bubble was made. Caroline, Kathy, and Melvin, they started this little circle 2 years ago, and they've just stayed stuck in it. So that is sort of the piece. And now Caroline is on the side of Melvin in court dates and situations like that. Obviously has been present to know everything that Melvin has done, including the unsafe situation in court, knows everything about not paying child support, knows really everything. But I don't know, like it's, let me tell you something. Either Melvin's really talented or Caroline's really spiteful. I can't tell, but or not, or they really like each other, which good. If you guys can focus on each other, then you don't have to focus on us. But it does not appear that way, because even today, for the past week, Caroline has been sending dissertations about my videos that I'm posting here with y'all, and pretty much dissertations anytime she gets a chance. So we are always mindful about who we have around. We try to be as safe as possible, because we do have to be on our P's and Q's and make sure that we protect ourselves, because I think some of these situations can get scary really quick. So you always have to be careful about who you talk to. If you're new here, I married a woman, had a kid with a woman, divorced that same woman. During the divorce, they transitioned to a man, lost custody, and now they owe child support. If you have not watched the playlist at the top of my page, please do. Continuing on. So I left off in February where court decided on Melvin's schedule. But during court, Melvin always going to court talking about some shit that like no one is there for. And the judge gets so confused. So Melvin kept trying to say, oh, well, I have a harassment claim out on Brittany. First off, I just want to state that every time Melvin gets the chance, they go to the cops to try and file harassment. When he found out that Taurus was getting on the stand with me, he filed harassment against her. When at that same time filed harassment on me. So they kept saying that in court, right? So when I left court the next day, I called the county that I live in, and I asked if there was something open, because I hadn't been contacted about anything. So they put me on the phone with a detective, and he was like, yeah, this is the situation. So basically, Melvin tried to file a harassment claim on me because one day Melvin did not take my son to school, told the school that he was sick. Then I tried to call, and they refused my call. So I called a few times because my son is sick. You need to tell me what's going on. I even called the cops. And guess what? No government agency had an address for Melvin. None of them. No, like, just ghost. So it was super frustrating. So yeah, I called a few times, and I think that that's appropriate because we're calling through an app. We're using a parenting app. So it was like, you do not get to tell the school that my son is sick and then not update his mother. Period. It's just ridiculous. So after that happened, like, of course, the detective, for all the harassment claims, none of them were legit. Nothing happened with any of them. The first, with Taurus's, they threw it out. With the first one, they were like, I mean, you're talking about the kid. Y'all just need to follow your orders. And the third one, he was like, no, closing the case. Nothing to note here. Cool. So after that, Melvin is like, anytime my son, in general, anytime I would go to Melvin and try to talk to them, I only talk to them about my son. Hey, our son is not feeling well, or hey, this needs to happen, or, whatever. No response. When I tell you that Melvin would not get in the parenting app for months, Then when my son was with him, he would not answer any phone calls for me, including anything like wellness checks. And guess what? When I call the cops, they can't even do a wellness check because they don't have an address on file for him. So really suspect for sure. So that's basically what was going through. Now I start getting worried because for the type of custody that Melvin has in the summer, those parents get some variation of 30 days. I'm like petrified because I don't get to talk to my son at all when they're in Melvin's possession. So I'm like, heck no, like, so I reach out to them and I'm like, let's come up with a schedule. Because mind you, like, we are not like talking, so we're not arguing or anything. It's just like, let me talk to my son. I could give a shit about you. So not letting me talk to my son. And so I went to them and I was like, let's come up with a schedule so I could talk. Oh, I'll have to let you know if that's something that I'm willing to do. Now, mind you, imagine a small toddler not being able to talk to their mother for 30 days. You continuously are putting my son through unnecessary trauma to be an asshole. So after that, I decided to get another lawyer. Mind you, I've gone through, God knows, I've spent so much money with lawyers. So I end up getting with a lawyer and they were like, okay, we can file all these different things based on, you know, them not letting you talk to the kid, child support, medical care, pretty much anything like that. So, because not only could no government agency find Melvin's, like, an address on file, including, like, USPS and all those places, because they checked those places, like, we didn't even have an address to serve them basically the enforcements and documentation for my lawyer. So we had to come up with a plan to serve them at an exchange because we just simply could not find an address for them. So mind you, anybody who's been through this court situation, you got to pay for the serve. I have to pay for my lawyers having to figure out how to serve this person. Like, I am constantly spending money because they are acting like they're just acting stupid. Because anytime I go to them and I try to explain something in the decree, they're like, well, that's not how I read it. What I put it in Chat GPT. Literally. Go call a lawyer and get a free consultation. There is no reason why these simple things laid out on the decree you're being slow about. Guess what? If he has medical bills, you have to pay half of them within 30 days. I'm already paying the insurance. I have to pay those bills by myself. So all these things they're breaking. And trust me, my lawyer addressed all of them. Granted, so basically they end up, after getting served, all of a sudden, I'm able to talk to my son. So the 30 days, I was able to talk to my son. And so, you know, things kind of calmed down. Because all I want is access to my child when they are with you. I've never cut off access. I answer messages, especially if they have something to do with my son. I am not gonna... The concept is to co-parent. I don't have to like you to co-parent with you. I have to co-parent with you because that's the best thing for my child. Period. The fact that you are willing to be that nasty tells me that not only are you not letting me talk to my son is hearing some of the stuff that you say. And I bet you guys are wondering, well, why doesn't the government do anything about this? Like, they're not letting you talk to your son. You don't have an address. They're not paying child support. Let me tell you something. The system is, when it comes to family court situations, first off, they have so much backlog, but it is not as efficient as you think it is. Matter of fact, cops can't even do anything because they're civil matters. So when these situations happen, there is literally no support for parents unless it is like extremely emergency serious situations. There's just nowhere to go. So it's like I'm stuck in this situation where I'm having to pay lawyers to just send simple messages. And then just to add, this person, Melvin, trying to consistently file freaking harassment claims. Every time I turn around, Melvin and Caroline, or just Melvin by himself, are showing up to things that they know or think that I'm going to be present at. So
it's really interesting how I'm harassing in any way, shape, or form, and I would rather do anything than see both people. And if anything, I feel like I have the right to file for harassment, but you want to know something? Sometimes the drama for me is like, I don't want it to continue. I want it to be better because my child deserves that. So, long story long, that is where we are now. Where we are now is working with a lawyer to figure out next steps, doing the best I can to do what's best for my child, and hoping that the situation either goes in my favor, which I won't explain what I want that to be, or it actually gets reasonable. I doubt the latter, but that sort of is what it is right now. I do have more content that I'm going to post, like just kind of things I didn't talk about, but this is sort of where we are, modern day, right now. And for the people that are watching simply just for the story and not all the extras, I want to thank everybody. It, per usual, has been a journey, but there's more, and it's coming. I plan on trying to post every day, so.
I married a woman, had a kid with a woman, divorced that same woman. During the divorce, they transitioned to a man, and I'm finding out they're a sociopath. I've been contacted by many different women who have given me permission to share parts of their stories or screenshots, and I want to first give a disclaimer. All of this is alleged. Second thing, all the names in these stories, including Melvin, are fake names. I gave fake names for privacy concerns. The only real name in this story is my own. And yes, I live in a 3D printed home. I will give a 3D printed tour and talk about how this house was built and all that good stuff. So don't you guys worry. All right, getting started. I'm going to put the diagrams on here. I'm going to put the screenshots on here. You guys know how I get down. So yesterday, we started talking about high school girlfriend Megan and high school girlfriend Katrina. So we're about to segue into marriages. Before we get deep into marriage number one, I'm going to share some screenshots here. If you see a screenshot that has a different color bubble next to it, that means it's from a different person. Okay, these screenshots are different people, different women, talking about the fact that some of them didn't know about the marriages. Some people watched time and time again them go from girl to girl, getting engaged, married, proposals, courthouses, babies, babies, babies. Some of them were saying how they found out about these marriages, and Melvin absolutely read them for filth. I have some that are talking about how the first wife just disappeared off of social media and then Melvin was on to the next person. I even have a message where a woman is writing Melvin saying, "You're a liar. You're a liar about your divorces. Why the fuck would you lie?" So I'm going to put this here. And a lot of this just speaks to sort of Melvin's concept of marriage, which all these women, every woman in this story is being used. Warm body. They want somebody they can either, they want to cut everybody off from their families. They want everybody to live with them, be financially dependent on them, or, you know, financially take care of them depending on the situation. And they want them to have babies. Every single woman that I've talked to has talked about the fact that probably some of the very first conversations they had with Melvin is proposals, weddings, babies. Immediately. So, moving on. We're going to talk about the first marriage, Sadie. I want to say that this marriage started probably sometime in 2015. I know that the divorce was in 2017, but I'm not super sure when this marriage started, but I know it wasn't long. So this is the story that Melvin told me about Sadie. Melvin told me that him and Sadie got married. Sadie moved in. Melvin had a good job, so told Sadie that she could quit her job to pursue YouTube, I guess. Melvin's mom ends up needing help with some type of surgical procedure. So Melvin and Sadie moved to wherever the mom is. And I guess at that point, Sadie was really struggling because she no longer had the support of her parents. that her parents came and took her car, that she had no support from her friends, and basically Sadie was miserable, wasn't doing the things that Melvin wanted her to do. So long story short, he said that Sadie was like, I'm going home to see my family, and apparently took all of Melvin's money and left and never turned back. Melvin said that he served Sadie a divorce, and because Sadie never responded, that Melvin put it in the paper. I later found out that that was not the case, and Sadie was the one that filed and put it in the paper. Okay, moving along. So about this first marriage, first I want to sort of talk about, go back for a second about Katrina. So Katrina from high school is an interesting person in this story because she has been along for this journey the whole entire time, because Melvin considers Katrina a friend. I don't think Katrina's seen him in almost 10 years, but Melvin always updates Katrina because deep down, I think that Melvin did want to be with Katrina. She's well off. She has a child. She has her own place. Looks the way that Melvin likes. She has everything. So Melvin would send her pictures of me, the baby, the girl after me. So she knows a lot of information. So she actually told me the story that she knew about Sadie. And of course, they're different, right? So they end up telling me Melvin made Sadie move to a different state with her and her mom. Told Sadie to quit her job because Melvin is very controlling. She wants to isolate you from the world, and that's clearly what she did to Sadie. She took everything from Sadie. I'm talking down to her own clothes. Sadie tried to go back to the state that they were in with her mother to get her shit back, but Melvin and her mom locked her shit up. And Sadie was the one that served Melvin. Sadie cut off her family and friends because Melvin made her. And on top of that, Sadie was a little on the bigger side, not overweight by any means, but Melvin would make her go work out and eat like a vegan so that Sadie could lose weight, so Melvin could like her. Told her she couldn't wear too much makeup because it was ugly. She hurt this woman so bad, I don't blame her for never wanting anything else to do with Melvin. Because like I said, when I say Sadie is in the wind, she's in the wind. And I don't blame her. I'm also going to add a text message on here from another person that was just talking about the whole vegan thing and trying to pick specific women and stuff like that. Because it sort of speaks to Melvin wanting Sadie to lose weight and being vegan. And actually, I've had this conversation with multiple women. Melvin lies and says they're a vegan, and they're not. They are the first 2 weeks you meet them, but they eat meat. Anyways, the crazy part about the Sadie situation is around the time that I guess Sadie and Melvin were divorcing, Katrina and Melvin were sort of talking. Katrina was like, you know what? We're not strangers. It's been a long time. You know, you're telling me you're divorced and stuff, so I'm trusting that. So Katrina says this. While they were living together, because Melvin said that Sadie and him were still living together, separated, I guess Sadie caught her texting Katrina. In my mind, I'm like, why does it matter, right? Y'all are divorced. Wrong. Melvin was married the whole time. So was basically texting Katrina saying that he hated Sadie, wanted them out of their lives, so on and so forth. It even got so bad that Melvin ended up moving from the state he moved to where he was helping his mom back to where he came from to surprise Katrina with a tattoo and a bunch of other things because he wanted Katrina to move in with him. And not only that, gave her a promise ring, was just really trying to prep Katrina to basically just leave off after his first marriage, I guess, was ending. And, you know, that continues through every single marriage. As you see, some of them are starting to overlap. But I do just want to say this. When I met Melvin, they had an empty apartment, a little rinky-dink car. And you know what they said? They said, my first wife took me for everything that I have. So the reason I don't have anything in my home, the reason I drive this car, and, you know, like my whole entire life story is, you know, when Sadie took everything from me, I slept in my car. And after I slept in my car, I was on my best friend's couch for 6 months saving money because Sadie just absolutely destroyed my life by stealing from me. They made their first marriage, their personality, and their like come up story. And if anybody knows Melvin, they always need a new come up story. Because guess what? I'm the new come up story, right? Oh, I have the worst baby mama ever. I'm a single dad, so on and so forth. They need a story. So when I met them, their story was Sadie. And now I see that they were broke with nothing in their apartment the whole entire time. Sadie had nothing to do with it, and you had no money for Sadie to take. So please find new stories, because they also love to tell people that I'm the reason that they have no money, and that's bullshit, and they know it. If you're new here, I married a woman, had a kid with a woman, divorced that same woman during the divorce. They transitioned to a man, and I'm finding out they're a sociopath. I've had permission from numerous amounts of women to share screenshots and their stories. My disclaimer's in my bio, and yes, my house is 3D printed. I'm speaking pretty fast because I want to get a lot of information into this video. So first, I'm going to start with my handy dandy timeline. I'm going to post it here. As you can see, I've made some changes. This changed from, Katrina changed from high school girlfriend to just friend, and I added in a new character. Funny how new characters pop up when you start talking to a bunch of different people. We're going to talk about the second marriage today. We left off with Sadie and the divorce in 2017. Basically, Katrina had talked to them a little bit. Guess what? Melvin kept trying to force the marriage thing on Katrina, and she was basically like, hey, we could be friends, but I'm definitely not getting into this relationship. I'm not marrying you, you know, whatever. Cool. So we're getting into the second marriage. The second marriage is to April. And as you notice, this is a very short marriage. They met in like October, November 2018. They married in January 2019, and they filed for divorce in August of 2019. Now, if you're looking at the timeline, you'll see that I also met Melvin in 2019. So let's get started. Basically, I'm gonna post the text messages. You see the box, the colored boxes. You know how I operate. Okay, so basically, April moved in November, and when they moved in, everything completely changed. So when Melvin met April was separated but living in a home with a toxic, abusive ex. And basically Melvin was like, I can save you, come here, I can take care of you, and all that stuff. And yeah, April was in between jobs, so it felt good, right? It felt safe. So she moves in with Melvin. Off rip, the day she moved in, Melvin started treating her like shit. Basically, if you recall in all of the stories that I've told, no one knew about the second marriage. Everyone said they knew about the first marriage, and then they didn't see anything, and then they knew about me. But there was a second marriage. And the thing is April asked them numerous amounts of times, why don't you post me? Why haven't I met a bunch of your friends or anything like that? And Melvin would say, oh, it's because you don't be acting right. So when you start acting right, then I'll post you. But the truth is Melvin was at their peak Twitter fame, right? Because like I said in my first few videos, this was a Twitter stud. So basically, Melvin was getting DMs and all types of stuff, and he's telling April, I'm getting these DMs, and he's answering them. So of course, April's like, what the fuck is going on? So through all of this, at this point, Melvin has made her basically hate her mom, cut off her mom and all that good stuff, cut off her friends. She's not living where she's from, so she's obviously isolated. Well, let me tell you what starts happening. So Melvin and April are sharing a location. April starts noticing, hey, why are you at the nail salon? I mean, they don't get their nails done. Why are you at these random apartments? And of course, guess what? April goes to go search for her keys and they're missing. They're missing. And of course, April's like, first off, how did you grab my keys? And secondly, I've been calling you. Where are you? So Melvin drums up this story, right? Oh, one of my employees is trying to apply to a management position where I work. So I was over her apartment to help her study. Hence the crystal on the timeline. Okay? So April was like, okay, obviously in the back of her mind, that didn't make sense. So after that, basically the mistreatment came, right? April doesn't have a job, right? Melvin's supposed to be helping her. And of course, April's looking for a job. She's doing the best she can, but you know, it doesn't just happen overnight. And of course, when she's home, she's cleaning, she's doing stuff. And guess what? The water bill goes up. Melvin fucking jumps down her throat because the water bill went up. And basically was like, you don't have no job to be doing and running up bills. And of course, April's like, well, what the fuck are you expecting me to do? Not clean up? So then what gets even crazier, right? We spoke about the vegan situation. Melvin put her on a vegan diet. Said, don't bring any meat in this house. I don't want you eating meat because it's so unhealthy. April went from weighing 130 pounds to 109 pounds in a month and a half. Melvin kept no food in the house except for cauliflower pizza and ramen. Nothing. And then guess what? For some reason, here goes April not being able to find her keys because Melvin keeps accidentally taking them. So basically, if there's no food in the house, or if all she has is a fucking cauliflower pizza, she's hungry and has no way to get food. He was literally starving her. And basically was just manipulating her using literally being vegan, which is insane to me. But then this is what I found super alarming. Like I stated at the beginning of this story, April was getting out of a toxic, abusive relationship, and Melvin's was supposed to be this safe space. Well, like Melvin does in pretty much all of his relationships, he uses your past against you. He uses it as fuel for fire. So basically, when they would argue, Melvin would raise his hand at her as though he was gonna hit her. And of course, she's backing up. But this was Melvin's way of getting her to stop talking to him. And guess what would happen? Melvin would stop talking to her after doing that and then put their phone on D&D and accidentally take their keys and leave the house. Would leave the house. And then what was even crazier, and listen to this, bro. So you know how I put that screenshot yesterday that said you lied to me about who you were married to and all of that stuff? That was from the second wife. Because guess what? Guess who Melvin said his first marriage was? This is what he told April. My first marriage was to Katrina. So April had no idea about Sadie. So when she found out about Sadie, she's like, well, what the fuck? Why would you tell me it's Katrina? Shocker, one of the only full names on Melvin's body through all of the women's names that he has is Katrina. And it's on his arm. It's very easy to see. And so, yeah, April was like, what's up with this name? And they were like, oh, that was my first wife. What? First off, you're a freaking sicko. Why are you lying about who you married? And why is Katrina such a huge theme in your life? It's fucking weird. So how this story kind of progresses, and before I get into that, I also want to state that, of course, April confronts Melvin about this lie, and basically is like, listen, I am trying to love you, I'm trying to be with you, I'm trying to make something work, and you're lying to me, and now I don't want anything to do with you. You're a liar. You never told me about this. And this was Melvin's response to her. We never talked about who I was married to. I said my divorce was finalized a year after I was separated, into 2017. Fuck out of here. I'm not reading the rest of this bullshit. You started off on the wrong foot telling me I'm lying. What the fuck is wrong with you? That's what he said to her. She found out the truth, and then he jumped down her throat as though she had no reason to be asking or giving her feelings about this situation. Basically, the last time that April talked to Melvin was about June in 2019, and all they talked about was getting a divorce. But then basically April finds out that they were talking to me at that point. So basically the divorce that happened in August of 2019 was given by Melvin, but that was just to hurry up and get April out of the way so that, guess what, I can come into the picture. Well, what's funny is, right, so I'm having to live with Melvin in 2023 until I could get them out of the house. If you watch my story, you'll see that. And Melvin contacted April in 2023 and tried to apologize and try to, get on good terms. And guess what? You know what April said? They were different. They always been narcissistic, but they had no emotion. They reached out in 2023 before I put them out of the home and basically went back to all of their exes and apologized for their behavior, because guess what? He had nowhere to go. So guess what? He's sending the second wife pictures of my son, telling the second wife how I was jealous of April. It's like that was a thing, because remember, they told Katrina that same thing. So once again, Melvin is the craziest master manipulator I've ever seen, and it's not even over.
If you're new here, I married a woman, had a kid with a woman, divorced that same woman. During the divorce, they transitioned to a man, lost custody, and now they owe child support. Okay, so I wanted to answer, there's a bunch of questions about, whose baby is it? And, why do they pay child support? Why can't you just walk away with your kids? So I wanted to go ahead and answer it. And I'm going to say this. I am going to refer to Melissa as they were in the story, because when I change it up, and it makes it really hard to understand. Okay, so when me and Melissa were engaged, we did IUI, intrauterine insemination. That means that I was inseminated with donor sperm. So I was pregnant with my baby plus donor sperm. Okay? Ended up getting married when I was about 6 months pregnant. And Melissa signed the birth certificate. Okay? I thought that in order for Melissa to have the same parental rights as me, since I was the biological parent, that they had to adopt the child as well. Turns out, not true here in Texas. Here in Texas, if you sign the birth certificate, since Melissa signed the birth certificate, she is given just as much parental right as I am. So 50-50. So initially, that was what I was doing until everything found out, and then everything happened, and then I took who is now Melvin to court for custody, and then I was able to get it down to one of the standard possession custody, so that I was the primary parent. So then people started asking about oh, well, so that's why I can't just take my kid and run. Because that apparently you can't do that here. And so then, even with everything that happened, they still gave them some custody or whatever and child support. So everyone's like, well, if they don't pay child support, can't you just dip? Can't you just terminate parental rights? No. In Texas, even if you don't pay child support, I cannot use non-payment of child support to keep the child away from Melvin. By law. You are not allowed to, they do not associate child support with visitation. They think that is what it is. I won't get into what I think and what they think. I can only tell you about what it is. And so basically, yes, I do agree with a lot of the things that I'm saying about, like, of course, I'm going to always keep trying to do everything that I can to protect my baby. But, you know, a lot of lawyers don't want to touch it. It is kind of a hard thing to kind of, to swallow. So I do think that the court system kind of doesn't care, because they're like, I don't even want to sit down and read this because this is crazy. They're just like, listen, you signed the birth certificate, there you go, deal with it. So that's basically been, or sort of explains why things are the way that they are in my situation. Now that most of the story has been told, and like, yes, a lot of it was sad, but I'm gonna switch the vibe up to like, to talk about some funny things that happened during this whole long shebang. Okay, so initially Melvin was living with me, like, because like we shared a lease together, and my lawyer was trying to get them out of the house. So prior to them getting put out of the house, I'm like, hey, listen, I'll give you whatever you want in the house, because mind you, everything's mine. We're in a 4-bedroom house, it's furnished, and everything is mine. Okay, mattresses, bed frames, couches, you name it. I had an extra couch, I had a couple extra fridges, a couple things. So I was like, listen, you could take pretty much all this extra stuff, like, you could have it. Like, I just want you to leave. So I'm cool with you having whatever. Once again, me being nice. So one day, I roll up to the house, and it's a group of men outside with a U-Haul loading up this couch that I had. And now, mind you, like I said, when I asked them if they wanted anything, they was like, no, I don't want your stuff. I don't need your stuff. Like, basically, like fuck me and my stuff. Okay. But then, so when I got there and these men were loading up the couch, I'm like, what's going on, y'all? Because mind you, Melvin's not there. It's just some random men in my yard loading up a couch into a U-Haul. And so I'm like, what's going on, y'all? And they like, oh, somebody sold us this couch. They just keep putting the couch in the bag. And I'm like, okay, like, who am I to tell them they can't have a couch? So basically, I remember like calling my lawyer and like trying to take a picture of them loading the couch up. I tried to find it. I'm gonna try to find it again. And it was just like that was like, that's pretty funny, right? But let me tell you the real funny part. Okay, so in a relationship, people buy people things. You may gift, you know, your girlfriend or boyfriend some earrings or whatever. So, you know, over time, like, Melvin had given me some gifts. Like, and I remember, like, specifically, like, a record player. There were, like, shoes, earrings, things like that. Bruh. I kid you the shit not. Every single thing in that house that Melvin bought or thought he bought or whatever, he sold, all the way down to like my hoodies and t-shirts and like stuff that they had bought. Like, but what was even crazier about it is, bruh, I didn't even know that he sold it until I was moving. So I was like packing my stuff up to move to our new house, and I was like, bruh, like, where is all of this stuff? To find out that this freaking scammer has sold everything, and not just the stuff that they bought me, but anything they thought would equate to money. And like, for me, like, it just like showed the amount of desperation. But it was just really crazy, because then there was also this one time, like, somebody pulled up to buy a fridge, and like, I went off, because I'm like, listen, all right, I asked you if you wanted all this stuff, right? You said you didn't want it. Now all of a sudden you're taking those things and selling them out of my front yard. At least give me a 20%, 10% or something. Like, I'm not even trying, like, give me 50, like, give me 50 on it. Like, you could have gave, like, it was just really crazy to me, because I tried to be nice, but the audacity to go through the house and just be rummaging through stuff to sell is crazy to me. And then honestly, it was like a year later where I found out they sold all this stuff, so that shit was long gone. But I was like, bro, like, what does this dude be on? Because why did you do that?